6 months later, Mark lost 45 kilograms. The GH protocol actually works.
Mark is trapped in my GH gym for 6 months to lose 45 kilograms. If he fails, he gets nothing.
Okay, I need you to listen to me for the next few minutes because what I'm about to tell you is honestly one of the craziest things I've ever witnessed as a coach. I ran an experiment, a real one, with real people. And I promise you, by the end of this, you're going to think about your own body completely differently. Let's go. So here's the setup. I gathered a group of everyday people, not athletes, not fitness influencers, just regular men and women who felt tired, who felt stuck, who had basically given up on the idea that things could get better for them. And I told them, forget everything you think you know about getting healthy. Forget the extreme diets. Forget the brutal workouts. Forget the pills with names you can't even pronounce. We're doing this differently, and I want to see what happens. And guys, I was not ready for what happened next. The first thing we changed was insanely simple. Almost too simple. I told everyone just walk. That's it. Outside, in real daylight, at a pace where you could still talk to someone next to you. No sprinting. No pain. Just walk. And I remember thinking, there's no way something this basic is going to move the needle. I was fully expecting nothing to happen. I was so wrong. Within days, not weeks, days, people were sleeping better. Their energy stopped crashing in the afternoon. Some people's blood pressure dropped enough that even our doctors on the team were stunned. Stunned. And when I asked people how it felt, they all said basically the same thing. It felt like their body had been waiting for permission to finally relax. Like something inside them had been clenched for years and it finally let go. Okay, next thing. Food. But not what you're thinking. We didn't ban anything. No restrictions, no forbidden foods, none of that. I gave everyone one single rule. Before every meal, just ask yourself, is there something real on this plate? A vegetable, a fruit, something that grew instead of something that got manufactured in a factory. Just one thing. That's the entire rule. And I thought, there's no way this tiny rule does anything meaningful. Wrong again. People naturally started crowding out the junk without even trying to. Digestion improved. Inflammation dropped in ways that made even the skeptical doctors on my team stop and stare at the results. Joint pain that people assumed was just permanent, just part of getting older, started easing up. Not gone completely, but easing in a way that changed how people moved through their entire day. But the third change, this is the one that broke my brain a little. It had nothing to do with food, nothing to do with exercise. It was about the hour before bed. I told everyone, protect that hour like it's sacred. No screens blasting light into your eyes, telling your brain it's still daytime. No stressful conversations, no doom scrolling. Just calm. Boring, predictable, calm every single night. And this, out of everything, might be the piece that mattered most. Because people who slept better automatically made better choices the next day. They weren't reaching for sugar out of exhaustion. They weren't skipping the walk because they had nothing left in the tank. Sleep wasn't just one item on a list. Sleep was the foundation that made everything else actually work. Now here's the part that genuinely shocked me the most, and I need you to really hear this. I assumed the older participants, people in their 60s, their 70s, would improve the slowest. That's just what we're all told, right? You get older, your body loses its ability to bounce back. That's just how it goes. That is not what I saw. Some of the most dramatic transformations in this entire experiment came from the oldest people in the group. Their energy didn't just improve, it came back like it had been sitting there dormant the whole time, just waiting for the right conditions. One woman told me that for the first time in over a decade, she woke up and didn't immediately reach for pain medication just to start her day. One guy told me he stopped needing an afternoon nap just to function. Something he'd assumed was simply what happens when you get old. And that's when it hit me. What we were watching wasn't some magic reversal of time. It was proof that so much of what we blame on aging is actually just the cost of years spent underslept, undermoved, and underfed with real nutrients. And the second you fix those root problems, even gently, the body doesn't care how old it is. It just responds. It just heals. I want to be real with you, though, because not every story was some dramatic movie moment. Some people had quieter wins, steadier moods, fewer headaches, clothes fitting a little different, just feeling more like themselves again. And I need you to know, those quiet wins matter just as much as the dramatic ones. We live in a world obsessed with insane before and after pictures. And because of that, we've trained people to ignore the small, steady improvements that are actually the most sustainable ones long term. Because here's the truth nobody tells you. Your body is not looking for a miracle. It's not waiting around for some rare exotic compound or some crazy optimized protocol designed by an app. Your body is incredibly good at healing itself the moment you stop working against it. Move a little. Eat something real. Sleep like it actually matters. Get some sunlight on your skin. These aren't new secrets. These are literally the oldest instructions we have. And somehow, in this race toward complicated solutions, we forgot how powerful the simple stuff actually is. I think about the people from this experiment constantly. The guy who told me he hadn't felt this mentally clear in years, and all he changed was his evening routine and a daily walk. The woman who legitimately cried, actual tears, when her numbers came back better than they'd been a decade, and all she did was add more color to her plate and finally get real rest. These are not superhuman people with insane discipline. These are normal people who are finally given permission to do less instead of more, and to trust that consistency beats intensity every single time. So if there's one thing I want you to take from this entire experiment, it's this. Your body is not broken, is not betraying you, is not just falling apart because of how many years you've been alive. In almost every case, it is simply responding to the conditions you've been giving it. Change those conditions, even gently, even slowly, and it will respond, often faster than you'd ever expect. I'm not telling you this to sell you anything. I'm telling you because I watched it happen with my own eyes, over and over, in people who had genuinely stopped believing real change was possible for them. I watched exhausted people become energized. I watched people in pain move freely again. I watched people who had quietly given up on themselves start to believe, slowly and then all at once, that their best years weren't actually behind them. So take this as permission. Permission to stop chasing complicated solutions to what is honestly a pretty simple problem. Permission to walk, to eat something real, to protect your sleep, to let your body finally do what it was always built to do if you just give it the chance. You do not need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You do not need to be perfect. You just need to start and stay consistent and let time and biology handle the rest. Because if this experiment taught me anything, it's that the human body at almost any age still wants to heal. It's still listening. It is still fully capable of shocking us if we're just willing to give it what it's been asking for this whole time. And after everything I saw, I believe that more than I ever have before. There's one more thing I noticed that I honestly can't stop thinking about. It wasn't just the bodies that changed. It was how people talked about themselves. At the start, everyone spoke about their own health like it was a done deal, like their tiredness and their aches were just permanent parts of who they were now. But somewhere along the way, that language flipped. People stopped saying, "I'm just someone who gets tired easily," and started saying, "I've actually been sleeping great lately." People stopped saying, "My joints are just old," and started saying, "Wait, I just got up off the floor without even thinking about it." Small shift in words, but underneath it, something massive was happening. They stopped seeing themselves as broken and started seeing themselves as capable of change. And once that belief clicks into place, it becomes its own kind of medicine. I also have to talk about stress because this might be the most overlooked piece of the entire puzzle. I didn't ask anyone to meditate for hours or completely erase the stress from their lives, because let's be honest, that's not realistic for people juggling actual jobs and actual families. Instead, I asked something way smaller. Just notice when your body is holding tension it doesn't need to hold. A clenched jaw during a stressful call. Shoulders creeping up near your ears while you're sitting at a desk. Fast, shallow breathing during a moment that isn't actually an emergency. Just notice it, and then consciously let it go. Sounds too simple to matter, right? Wrong again. The people who practiced this consistently had some of the most surprising results in the whole experiment. Headaches that had followed people around for years became way less frequent. Stomach issues people had just learned to live with started calming down. Resting heart rates dropped. And the reason is wild when you think about it. Your nervous system genuinely cannot tell the difference between a real emergency and the constant, quiet hum of everyday modern stress. If you're living every day like you're being chased by something, even quietly, your body reacts like it's actually true, and doing that for years takes a massive toll. Teaching your body, even in small moments throughout the day, that it's actually safe, that can stand down, turned out to be one of the most powerful tools in this entire experiment, and it didn't cost a single cent. I also want to say this loud and clear. None of this required suffering, not even a little. I think we've all been trained to believe that real change has to hurt, that if something feels easy or gentle, it must not be working hard enough. That belief has quietly wrecked more people's progress than almost anything else out there. The people in this experiment weren't gritting their teeth through torture. They weren't white-knuckling their way through deprivation. Honestly, most of them were enjoying the process, enjoying a walk in the morning air, enjoying a plate with actual color and life on it, enjoying the pure relief of finally getting real rest. And I don't think that enjoyment was just a nice side effect. I think it's a huge reason the whole thing worked in the first place. Your body does not thrive under constant punishment. It thrives under safety, real nourishment, and consistency. And it turns out those things don't have to feel miserable to actually work. If you're watching this and thinking, I've literally tried everything already, I hear you, and I'm not going to pretend that feeling isn't real. So many people in this experiment walked in carrying that exact same exhaustion, that same quiet suspicion that nothing was ever going to work specifically for them, even if it worked for everyone else. But here's what I'd gently say to you. Most health advice out there today is complicated on purpose, because complicated sells, and simple doesn't create the same urgency to buy something. But your body was never asking for complexity. It was asking for consistency. Movement, real food, real rest, and a break from constant alarm. Most people have never actually tried that combination patiently, without switching things up every few weeks out of frustration. They've tried extreme versions, unsustainable versions, versions built to look dramatic rather than actually last. This experiment worked because it was boring in the best way possible. And boring, steady, unremarkable habits, repeated without quitting, are exactly what made these results happen. And here's the last thing, and honestly, I think it might be the most important thing in this entire video. We didn't just track physical results. We tracked how people felt about their own future. At the start, almost everyone described this quiet dread about getting older, this sense that decline was just inevitable, and the best you could do was slow it down a little. By the end, that completely flipped. People started talking about their future with actual hope instead of dread. This sense that they still had time, that their choices still mattered, that their story wasn't already written in stone, and that, more than any single physical change, is the real result of this whole experiment. Not just better numbers, not just more energy, not just less pain, but a total shift in how people saw their own ability to heal and grow at literally any age. And if that's possible for them, it's absolutely possible for you too. So that's it. That's the experiment. And honestly, I think it might be one of the most important things I've ever done. Thank you so much for watching, and seriously, take this as your sign to start. Not tomorrow, not next Monday, today. Your body has been waiting patiently this whole time. Go meet it halfway.